الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا ومولانا محمد النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. أما بعد، فقد قال الله تعالى في قرآنه المجيد بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم: لا تنالوا البر حتى تنفقوا مما تحبون وما تنفقوا من شيء فإن الله به عليم. صدق الله العظيم. When Abu Talha radiallahu anh, when he first heard these ayat, the same ayat which I just recited, that لن تنالوا البر, you will never attain piety, you will never attain a lofty status of piety, حتى تنفقوا مما تحبون, until you spend from that which you love. Allah Ta'ala was telling us. But when Abu Talha radiallahu anh, when he heard this ayah, he took it upon himself to reflect and think, what is the thing that is most beloved to me? What is the thing which I hold dearest to me and is the most valuable to me? And in his case, it was a well. But it wasn't just any well. It was a specific well which was very, very special to him for this reason, that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam himself used to come and drink from this well. Subhanallah. So this was the most beloved thing to him at that point of time when he first heard those ayat being revealed. So the ayat, it tells us that we will never ever attain piety until we spend from that which we love. So Abu Talha radiallahu anh, he goes to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and he says that he wants to donate this well to charity. Now, just think for a moment. Imagine if we had a well like this. In our garden, we had a well where Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam himself would come and drink. Would we give this up? Would we want to give this away? No, of course not. Why? Because Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he would always have a reason to come to our home. He would always come and visit us. He will come and after drinking the water will make dua for us. And this was such a big, like a sacrifice and a worthy investment in the eyes of Allah, that when he went to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, I want to donate this well in the path of Allah. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, okay, but keep it within your family and donate it to a poor person within your family. So Abu Talha radiallahu anh, he donated it to some of his cousins, and like this, it stayed within his family. But if we just think about this story, that did Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam hint towards him to donate this well? No. Did he tell him or instruct him? No. But this just shows us how the Sahaba radiallahu anhum ajma'in reflected upon the Quran. And this, my brothers and sisters, is how we attain that status of ihsan. That, look, alhamdulillah, we're listening to this and we always hear about the Sahaba and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam because we were blessed with Islam. And we have the kalima la ilaha illallah within our hearts. And alhamdulillah, that's the first rank of Islam. And after that, a lot of us, alhamdulillah, we've been blessed with iman, that we perform our 5 daily salawat. Alhamdulillah, that from amongst us there are those who have performed Hajj. There are others who are intending to perform Hajj. We give our zakat on a yearly basis. We fast in Ramadan. And this is the definition of iman. But yes, we have Islam, alhamdulillah. Yes, we have been granted the greatest ni'mah, the blessing of iman. And a lot of us, we were born with this, like it's one-way ticket to Jannah. But now it's up to us to reach that third rank. There is a level higher. There's a level higher, there's Islam, iman. But the lofty level above that, which we should all be striving for, that is known as ihsan, which is excellence in our deen, in our faith. Excellence in the way we worship Allah. That in the famous hadith of Jibreel alayhi salam, we hear when the man came to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam and this man was disguised as Jibreel. He asked Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, to summarize in one part of the hadith, he asked, what is ihsan? And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he replied that you worship Allah as if you can see him. And if you can't see him, then know that Allah can see you. This is another definition of ihsan. So look, we see that there are different routes and alternative pathways to reach this level of ihsan. Just like in the example of Abu Talha radiallahu anh, he donated that which was beloved to him. And this is a way which, this is like a way which we can adopt to achieve closeness to Allah. Because if we think about it, when we give in charity, for example, in a clothes bank, when we donate the clothes, we wouldn't give our best clothing, the clothing which, my favorite jacket or my favorite t-shirt. We wouldn't want to donate these things. Rather, unfortunately, we see that the case is that we donate the things which we don't need anymore. We donate the things which we don't hold dear to ourselves anymore. And Allah clearly tells us that you will never attain God consciousness, bir, and that high level, حَتَّى تُنْفِقُوا مِمَّا تُحِبُّونَ, until you spend from that which we love. Why? Because that's something which crushes our nafs. That's something which is hard for us. And, something which will really crush, and it's hard on the nafs. But these are the things which, when we crush our nafs, only then can we taste the sweetness of ihsan. And we might be able to recall a time in our lives when this was a moment in my life where I really tasted the sweetness of iman, the sweetness of ihsan. Whether that was a salah which we prayed with so much khushu', whether that was when we visited the Kaaba, we went to perform Umrah or Hajj, whether that was in Ramadan, or maybe it was during the night when nobody saw us and we just ourselves secluded ourselves just to worship and glorify and cry to Allah. But it's up to us to try and get there again. Because iman, as we know, it fluctuates. It goes up and down. It's like the stock market, up and down, it fluctuates. And it will happen that there are some days where our iman is low. But it's up to us to take that back again. And inshallah, when we reach that level of ihsan, we will taste such sweetness that we will forget the problems that we have in our dunya. We forget the stress and the worries that we have in this life. When we taste that sweetness, we will fall in love with it such that we look forward to worshipping Allah. And this is the sweetness that the Sahaba radiallahu anhum ajma'een had experienced. Subhanallah, there's so many different routes. And to understand this concept of ihsan better and how we can attain ihsan, one key pathway towards that is that we have ikhlas, sincerity. That means that whatever we do it solely for the sake of Allah Ta'ala. And to better understand this, I'm sure many of us have heard the famous story of the Zaniya woman, the adulterous lady, who had committed so much sin throughout her lifetime. But when she came across a thirsty dog who was in need of water, was dehydrated and he couldn't reach the water in the well. And we hear that the story goes on, she took off her boot or her leather sock and she used it as a vessel to get the water out of the well. And she fed this thirsty dog. That Rasulullah ﷺ said that this was the means of her salvation. This was the means of her attaining Jannah. Subhanallah, it's a whole life of sin. But this act was so beloved to Allah that this was a means of her forgiveness. Why? Because this was done with ikhlas. Nobody was watching. She didn't do it for people to think good of her. She didn't do it for the views or for the likes or for money or fame. This was an act which was solely for Allah, that nobody's watching. I'm going to do this just to please Allah. So we really have to ask ourselves and reflect, just the way that Abu Talha radiallahu anh did when he heard that Quran ayah. We have to ask ourselves, what are some acts in my daily life, or what are some acts throughout my life which I do which is solely just for Allah's pleasure. That yes, Jannah is there, Jahannam is there, and we do good deeds so that we can attain Jannah and we get rewarded. And we stay away from bad because of the fear of Jahannam, yes. But imagine doing good, Jannah and Jahannam aside, imagine doing good just to make my Rabb happy, just to make our Allah happy. That is called ihsan. And before we go, my brothers and sisters, one last thing. Coming back to the story of the Zania woman with the thirsty dog. Concept which we can understand, and I hope we can take away from this talk with us, is that on the Day of Judgment, our deeds will not be counted. Allah Ta'ala will not look at a person that you have 900 bad deeds and 1,000 good deeds, so enter Jannah. Or in the reverse effect, that you have 1,000 good deeds and 1,000 bad deeds and 100 good deeds, so enter Jahannam. Our deeds will not be counted. Rather, our deeds will be weighed. That one deed can be heavier than 1,000 bad sins. And similarly, one sin can be heavier on the scales of the Day of Judgment, the Al-Mizan, than 1,000 good deeds. And this is where the concept of ikhlas, it comes into play. And it's a very, very deep topic, but we are running out of time, and I hope we can take some things that we can understand and look back on our lives and reflect that what am I doing just for ikhlas, just for Allah with sincerity, because our deeds are weighed and not counted. What am I doing to achieve that level of ihsan? Alhamdulillah, we've been blessed with Islam, with Iman, but how can I reach ihsan? So I ask Allah Ta'ala that He gives us the ability to taste the sweetness of Iman, to taste the sweetness of ihsan. And I ask Allah Ta'ala to use this as a means of our salvation in the dunya and in the Day of Judgment, and give us Jannatul Firdaus. Wa akhiru da'wana and alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen.